Imagine you wake up one morning and suddenly notice that your hands are green. And as you pull off your blanket, you see that your legs are green as well. Your heart rate speeds up as you realize that your entire room has turned green too. And as you walk around, you're shocked to see that everything in your house has transformed into the color green. You make your way to work, but time and time again, everything you see has somehow turned green. And as you pull to your office, you pass by your reflection in the mirror, and you stop dead in your tracks because you realize that you're wearing green glasses. Now, while the story is fictional, it describes a deep spiritual concept, the nature of the human condition. Because we are all wearing conceptual and spiritual glasses, the lens through which we translate and experience the world around us. However, not all of us realize that we had and have the power to choose how we see the world. Because a scientist might see the world through a lens of science, constantly comparing everything to his scientific perception of reality. An athlete or avid sports fan might see everything through the lens of sports, somehow finding a sports analogy for every possible situation. An artist might see the world through the lens of art, perceiving everything by its form, design, and texture. Yet, the ideal is for us to wear spiritual glasses as well, to see the world through a Torah lens, and thus to see the physical world as a reflection of the spiritual reality. In Parshas B'Shalach, the Jewish people experienced the miraculous. Kriyas Yam Suf, the splitting of the sea, is the pinnacle of the Jews' miraculous and transcendent experience. Yet, as the Ramban explains, we have to strive to see past the surface, recognizing nature itself as miraculous. Our very existence, the fact that we have air to breathe, and the fact that we have the ability to think and feel are all constant miracles. These types of glasses require constant polishing, constant attention, and constant effort. And here is the real simple truth. We are what we think about. This is one of the deepest truths of life. Whenever you start to think about something, you'll begin to see it appear in your life as well. Usually you'll begin to realize that it has been there the entire time. The Torah explains by Hagar, only once Hashem opened up her eyes could Hagar finally see the well of water that had been there the whole time. In your own life, have you ever bought a new shirt and suddenly realized that everyone has that shirt? In truth, people have always had that shirt, but in the past you simply filtered this information out since you weren't looking for it. Now, however, you've begun to focus on this, and therefore you've begun to notice what has actually been there the whole time. Scientifically, this is due to the reticular activating system in our brain, a bundle of nerves which filter out unnecessary information. But it's only once you focus on something and deem it important that you will begin to notice it. Just think about how many times you've walked past your neighbor's house. Do you remember what their front door looks like, or how many windows they have? If not, it's probably because it isn't very important to you. But the same is true for spiritual depth. Only if you're looking for it will you find it. So this gets us to really the fundamental question, which is, why don't more people become great? You see, this question has been on my mind for years is because so many people get inspired for brief moments, but then continue living normal, average lives. What convinces us that we're just normal and not destined for greatness? Have you ever seen someone extraordinary? Whether a Talmid Chacham, someone with exemplary midos, character traits, or someone with an amazing marriage, and you thought to yourself, wouldn't it be amazing if I could become great like that? You might have even begun to imagine what your life would be like if you could achieve something like this. So what happens? Why don't we act on that inspiration? But the answer is so simple. It's because we don't have the empowering identity, the self-perception, to create a life of greatness. After all, what usually happens when we have that brief moment of inspiration, when we imagine a greater version of ourselves, that small voice, the Yetzer Hara, creeps out from the back of our minds and whispers, "Who are you kidding? What makes you think you can do that? Have you ever done something like this before? You're not cut out for that kind of life. You're just normal, average." And you then reinforce your unempowering identity and let the inspiration fade. Yet, there is a way to prevent this from happening. If you understand the power of self-perception, of identity, then you will realize that you don't have to repeat your past. You can begin writing a new chapter in the story of your life. As the saying goes, history is being read, but it's also being written by people with imagination. And you can write the next chapter in the story of your life. The key to doing so is by understanding the power of identity. And here is one of the most important concepts that I have ever learned. It's that we live our identity, or in other words, we live our musts, our standards. Because everyone has things that they want to do. We want to learn more Torah. We want to have a deeper connection with Hashem. We want to develop better midos, build better relationships, create financial success, have healthier bodies, but we don't get what we want. We get what we need. We get our standards. We need to eat. We need to breathe. And until we need to create all these other things, they're going to remain on our wish list forever. The only way to change something from a want to a need is to change your identity. Only by raising your standards and creating a growth-oriented identity can you shift your life towards greatness. An athlete looks at himself in the mirror and sees an athlete. So this requires him to live a certain lifestyle, have a specific exercise regimen, a unique diet, a required amount of sleep every night. A Talmid Chacham looks in the mirror and sees a Talmid Chacham. This requires him to understand the fact that he is destined for greatness, that he now has to constantly learn Torah, he has to grow in his avodas Hashem, he has to help others, because this is his identity. And we all have an identity, but not all of us have chosen it. Many of us were given our identities by our parents, our friends, our teachers. Maybe they told us we were supposed to do great things with our lives. Maybe they told us we weren't. Maybe they told us we're not good enough. We're not good looking enough. We're not smart enough. We're not charismatic enough. We're not kind enough. We're not healthy enough. We're not this. We're not that. But the key to life is becoming self-aware enough to choose and create your own identity. An empowering identity, which will push you to maximize your potential and become the greatest imaginable version of you. Because the way you think determines how you experience your life. Tying everything together, the Baalei Machshava describe 3 steps in the process of the human experience. The first step is your thoughts. Your thoughts are the initial stage. The second step is that the way you think will then determine how you feel, how you experience life. And number 3 is how you feel will affect how you act and how you live. So when used in the positive sense, this can be extremely empowering. Because if you think Hashem loves you, then you'll feel really close to Him and you'll live a life of Torah and mitzvahs. If you think you're a spiritual being, then you'll feel holy. You'll feel spiritual, and then you'll live a spiritual life. If you think you're destined for greatness, you'll feel great, and you'll live a great life. Think, feel, live. Think, feel, grow. However, when used in the negative sense, this can be extremely unempowering and destructive. If you think Hashem hates you, then you'll feel really distant from Him, and you'll live a life of depression. If you think you're a physical and lowly being, then you'll feel unholy, and you'll live an unspiritual life. If you think you're destined for nothing, you'll feel insignificant, and you'll live a meaningless life. But there's one single key to living an extraordinary life. Because we've developed a principle which states that how you think affects how you feel, which then affects how you live. So the key is that if you want to live a great life, then you have to change and rewire how you think. Because if you can change the way you think and the way you perceive reality, as well as your place within it, then you can change your life. As the saying goes, if you always think the way you've always thought, then you'll always do what you've always done, and you'll always be who you've always been. Because the battleground is in your mind. And everyone is going through their own battle. We all look pretty much the same on the outside, but inside, we are all going through our own internal battles. But if you can change your mind and change your perceptions, then you can change your entire life. So let's try to rethink our inner paradigms. Think about the type of life that you're creating for yourself. Because it's only if we acknowledge our current paradigms and perceptions that we can ever hope to change them. When things happen in your life, are they happening to you or for you? Do you believe that everything happens for a reason, or is your life a collection of random coincidences? Are your challenges and ordeals an opportunity to grow, or a reason to quit? How do you perceive Hashem himself? Do you perceive him as someone who you can have a relationship with, or someone distant, perfect, and transcendent? Or both? What about the relationships we're in? Do we view relationships as a means to take and receive pleasure? Or an opportunity to give ourselves completely to someone else, to expand beyond the limited borders of our individual self, to experience true oneness? But perhaps most importantly, how do we perceive ourselves? Do we view ourselves as unique, special, destined for greatness? Or are we just another average citizen trying to get by and survive? Is greatness something elusive, reserved only for the few gifted among us? Or is it in fact something real, within reach, something which each of us can achieve? This is the deepest truth about perception. You get to choose how you see the world, how you experience your life. Your paradigms can empower you or cripple you. Your worldview can inspire or paralyze. The choice is solely yours. And that is the beauty, but also potential pitfall and tragedy of perception. So we have to utilize this skill set and build deeper and more empowering perceptions. But this is really the goal of learning Torah. One of the goals of learning Torah is to change and evolve your mind and perceptions, to help you see the world through a spiritual lens, to help you live Torah. I mean, in a nutshell, learning Torah is about learning what Hashem wants. Tefillah, davening, is about wanting what Hashem wants, and performing mitzvahs is about living what Hashem wants. Think, feel, grow. Think, feel, grow. This series will be about creating deeper perceptions of reality and learning to see the world through a Torah lens, a spiritual lens. This is also why this series is called Think, Feel, Grow, because it reflects these three stages. The way you think affects the way you feel, which will hopefully help you then grow and live a greater life. So I look forward to embarking on this journey of growth with you and building a deeper perception of Hashem, a deeper perception of ourselves, and a deeper perception of the world we live in.